Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're looking at something you probably use all the time without even realizing it.
Really? What's that?
Recommendation systems.
Ah, got it.
Yeah, those algorithms on Netflix, Amazon,
Yeah.
even social media,
Uh-huh.
suggesting, what to watch,
Of course.
buy, who to connect with. You've sent over some really fascinating research
Okay.
about how these systems are getting like a major upgrade
Right.
thanks to reinforcement learning. We're going to
I love that topic.
break down exactly how that works today.
It really is fascinating. Think about this. These systems are evolving. So they used to just suggest the most popular items.
Right.
But now they're actually starting to figure out what you enjoy.
Okay, so let's back up for a second.
Right.
Before we get to reinforcement learning, how do these traditional recommendation systems work?
Yeah, so many of them are really focused on what you're most likely to click on.
Okay.
They'll look at past data
Got it.
about what's been popular.
Uh-huh.
And basically, they just recommend more of the same.
So it's like a bookstore that only shows the best sellers,
Yes.
even if I'm looking for something unique.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. And that's one of the big limitations with these traditional systems. They can get stuck recommending the same popular things without exploring other items that you might like.
I see. So they're just optimizing for the clicks.
Exactly.
Not necessarily.
For quick clicks,
Yeah.
not your long-term satisfaction.
Right. So how does reinforcement learning change this?
Right.
What's the big difference?
Well, with RL, the system isn't just trying to predict a click.
Okay.
It's trying to learn the best way to recommend something to you based on you as a user.
Okay.
So that means considering like your past activity,
Sure.
your preferences, maybe even your current mood
Yeah.
to figure out what will give you the best experience.
So instead of just, will they click this?
Yeah.
It's more like, will they be happy they clicked this?
Precisely. It's about maximizing long-term satisfaction rather than just immediate clicks.
Got it.
To make this a little clearer,
Okay.
I think it helps to look at a comparison table.
Right?
So traditional click-through rate prediction, the goal there is to predict the likelihood you'll click something, and it's based on you, the user, and the specific item.
Gotcha.
This system uses something called supervised learning,
Okay.
which relies heavily on historical data to make those predictions.
So is supervised learning like teaching a dog a trick?
Yeah.
Show it examples.
Exactly.
Reward it.
Yeah.
It learns the pattern.
That's a great analogy. Supervised learning is all about learning from labeled data.
Okay.
But the problem is, relying only on historical data can have limitations.
Right.
The system might get stuck recommending only items that have been popular in the past, what we call falling into a local optima. And it might not explore enough to recommend new or different things.
I see.
Ultimately, it's optimizing for that short-term engagement, not long-term happiness.
Makes sense. So how does reinforcement learning fit into this?
Yeah, so reinforcement learning has a much bigger goal. It wants to learn the optimal strategy for recommending content to you based on your specific state as a user. And it does this through trial and error, constantly interacting with you and learning from the feedback that you give.
So it's kind of like a human getting to know someone's tastes over time.
That's a great analogy.
Trying different things, seeing how they react.
Yep.
To gradually figure out what makes them happy.
Exactly. It's a much more nuanced and robust approach. One powerful RL method being used for recommendation systems is called Deep Q Network, or DQN for short.
DQN. Okay, what's so deep about it?
Well, DQN uses a special kind of AI called a neural network to approximate something called the Q value function. This basically predicts the long-term reward you would get from a specific recommendation.
So the Q value is kind of like a satisfaction score.
You got it.
The system assigns to each possible recommendation.
Exactly, like a measure of how much long-term value you'll get.
That's neat. So can you walk us through how DQN works in practice?
Sure. It all starts with you, your user state. So this includes information about your past interactions, things you liked or disliked, other relevant details the system might know. Then you have the item that could be recommended. These two pieces, your state and the potential item, become the input.
Input for
DQN's neural network.
Okay, and what comes out of this network?
The output is that long-term reward we talked about, that satisfaction score.
So it's constantly calculating how happy I'd be with each possible recommendation.
Exactly.
Okay, but how does it actually learn to make accurate predictions?
Well, it learns from every interaction you have with the system. Every time you click something, watch a video, ignore a recommendation, DQN uses that feedback.
Okay, so let's say I click on a recommended video. Does that tell DQN something?
Absolutely. That click is a positive signal, letting the system know that its prediction was on target.
Makes sense.
But if you ignore a recommendation or close a video quickly,
Uh-huh.
that sends a negative signal. It needs to adjust its approach
Gotcha.
for similar recommendations.
Okay, so the system is like constantly getting graded on its recommendations.
Pretty much.
It wants to improve its score. Okay, that makes sense, how this goes way beyond
Right.
just suggesting popular items.
Exactly.
But what about services with millions of items to recommend?
Right.
How does this approach work when there's so many possibilities?
That's a great question, and that leads us to another powerful RL method called Proximal Policy Optimization, or PPO.
Okay.
This one is specifically designed for handling those huge recommendation spaces.
All right, PPO for handling the big leagues.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
So while DQN focuses on calculating the expected value
Yep.
of each action, PPO is what we call a policy-based method. This means it directly learns the probability of recommending an item to you based on your state. Think of it like this. Instead of trying to figure out the exact score, PPO is trying to learn the best overall policy for making recommendations to you.
So how would you describe PPO's approach in a way that someone, without a technical background could understand?
That's an interesting challenge. Let me think. Imagine PPO as a super smart DJ
Okay.
who not only knows every song in their library,
Uh-huh.
but also knows how to read the crowd that's you to pick the perfect next track to keep the party going.
Okay. I like that. So how does this DJ actually figure out which song to play next?
To do this effectively, PPO uses something called an actor-critic network.
Actor-critic network sounds a bit dramatic.
It is a little bit. You have the actor,
Yeah.
which is responsible for making the recommendations, deciding what to show you.
All right.
It generates probabilities for each item based on your current state.
So the actor's the one choosing the songs. What about the critic?
The critic is like the judge. It evaluates the actor's choices, predicting how much you'll actually enjoy those recommendations,
Uh-huh.
trying to estimate your long-term engagement based on what their actor chose.
So they kind of work together.
Yeah.
The actor suggests, the critic judges,
Right.
and they learn from that feedback.
Exactly. It's a constant back and forth, and this helps PPO constantly refine its recommendations.
To keep me engaged and happy.
Right, to keep you engaged and happy.
This is really fascinating. It's incredible to see how sophisticated these systems are becoming and how they're really moving beyond just pushing popular items. But we are running a little short on time for this segment. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the world of reinforcement learning for recommendations. And we're back, continuing our deep dive into the world of reinforcement learning for recommendations. Before the break, we were talking about how these systems are getting so much smarter, actually learning your preferences over time,
Yeah.
aiming for that long-term satisfaction. Really impressive stuff.
It is, and what's even more exciting is that the potential applications of RL go way beyond
Oh,
just recommending movies
Okay.
or products.
I'm intrigued. Give us some examples.
Well, think about healthcare.
Okay.
Imagine RL being used to personalize treatment plans
Wow.
for patients, taking into account their medical history,
Yeah.
their lifestyle, maybe even genetic information.
It's like having a virtual doctor
Exactly.
that knows you inside and out
Right.
and can really tailor the treatment to you. Are there any other areas where this is being explored?
Absolutely. In finance, for instance,
Okay.
RL could be used to optimize investment strategies.
Interesting.
So imagine a system that helps you
Yeah.
make smarter financial decisions based on your risk tolerance and long-term goals.
So it seems like reinforcement learning has the potential to revolutionize a whole range of industries,
Absolutely.
from entertainment
Right.
to healthcare
Yep.
to finance.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
In any field where personalization and long-term optimization are key. And this brings up an interesting question. Now that we're starting to understand how these systems work,
Yeah.
how does that change how we think about the recommendations that we see every day?
It makes me wonder if knowing a system is learning my preferences
Right.
and trying to maximize my satisfaction would make me more likely to trust its suggestions.
That's certainly a possibility. But it's also important to remember that these systems are still in development. They're still learning and evolving.
Right, so maybe a healthy dose of skepticism is still warranted.
Yeah.
But even so, just knowing that these systems are getting more sophisticated
Uh-huh.
and user-focused, it'd have to change the game somewhat.
It does, definitely. It shifts the focus. So instead of just accepting what's presented to us,
Yeah.
to engaging more critically with these
Okay.
recommendations, asking ourselves, does this align with my goals?
Yeah.
Is it exposing me to new ideas or just reinforcing my existing preferences?
Those are some great questions to keep in mind.
Right.
It's all about, taking a more active role in shaping our own experiences,
Exactly.
even when using systems that are designed to personalize those experiences for us.
Well said. It's a reminder that technology is a tool,
Yeah,
and we have the power to use it in ways that benefit us.
I couldn't agree more. This has been an insightful deep dive. I feel like I have a much better grasp
Me too.
of how these invisible forces are working behind the scenes,
Yeah.
shaping our online interactions.
It is a complex topic, but I think
Yeah,
we've managed to unpack it pretty well.
I agree. And I'm sure our listener is feeling much more informed.
Perfectly.
Before we wrap up, I want to pose one final thought-provoking question,
Great.
something to ponder.
I'm all ears.
We've talked about how these systems are designed to optimize for, engagement and satisfaction, but those are just metrics at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, what does it really mean for a system to truly understand a user?
That's a great question, and it's one that researchers
Yeah,
and developers are still grappling with. It goes beyond just collecting data about your preferences.
right.
It's about understanding your motivations, your
Yeah,
values,
yeah.
your goals.
It's about seeing you as a whole person,
Yes,
not just like
not
a
just.
collection of data points. And that's where things get really interesting.
It's a fascinating challenge, and it has implications for how these systems are designed
Right.
in the future.
Well, this has been an incredible journey. We started by talking about how traditional systems work. Then we delved into, this world of reinforcement learning with DQN and PPO.
Right.
Now we're exploring these big questions about, what it means for technology to truly understand us. It's really mind-blowing.
It is, and I think it's clear that reinforcement learning is going to continue to play a major role in shaping the future of technology
Yeah,
and how we experience the world around us.
absolutely. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive, but there's so much more to explore.
There is. The field is constantly evolving. Who knows what's next?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out. But for now, let's wrap up this deep dive. We'll be right back to conclude our exploration of this fascinating world of reinforcement learning and recommendations. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into reinforcement learning for recommendations. We've been on quite a journey exploring how these systems are getting so much smarter and more personalized, moving beyond just predicting clicks to really understanding what makes you tick.
Yeah, it has been fascinating, and we've only just scratched the surface, really.
Exactly. It feels like reinforcement learning is going to totally revolutionize so many aspects of our lives. We talked about healthcare and finance, but where else do you see this technology making a big impact?
Well, imagine a world where your smartphone knows what you need before you even realize it.
Okay.
Like maybe it suggests a playlist based on your mood, or reminds you to pick up groceries on your way home.
Oh, that'd be amazing. It's like having a personal assistant
Yeah.
that knows you better than you know yourself.
Exactly. And think about transportation. What if your car could navigate traffic, but in a way that's fuel efficient,
Right.
but also takes into account what you enjoy?
Okay.
Maybe it learns that you prefer scenic routes, or you like to stop for coffee at a particular spot.
Wow, that sounds incredible. So it's not just getting you from A to B. It's like it's enhancing the entire experience.
Exactly. And these are just a few examples. The potential applications of RL are really limitless. I think we're on the verge of this future where technology just adapts to us, creates truly personalized experiences, across the board.
It's amazing to think about all the possibilities. But it's not just about convenience or personalization, is it? Reinforcement learning could potentially solve some of the world's biggest challenges.
Oh, absolutely. Think about climate change.
Okay, yeah.
What if we used RL to optimize energy consumption, in buildings and cities?
Yeah.
We could really reduce our carbon footprint and create a more sustainable future.
That's a fantastic idea. It really highlights how this technology isn't just about improving, our own lives.
Right.
It's about using our ingenuity as humans to address these global issues.
Exactly. And in healthcare, as we talked about before, imagine using RL to personalize treatment plans.
Yeah.
And really improve patient outcomes. I mean, the possibilities are truly endless. We're just starting to tap into the power of this technology.
It's so inspiring to think about how RL is really pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But, amidst all this excitement, it's important to remember that technology is a tool, and it's up to us to use it wisely.
I could agree more. As with any powerful tool, there are potential downsides. We have to make sure that these systems are designed and implemented in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Right. So it's not just about the technology itself.
No,
It's about like the values and principles that guide its development.
exactly.
Well, I think this deep dive has really given our listeners a really good overview of the world of reinforcement learning and its impact on recommendation systems. We've covered a lot,
We have.
from the basics of how it works to these broader implications.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
The pleasure we all might. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the world of reinforcement learning. We hope you've learned something new and that you're as excited about the future of this technology as we are.
Yeah, keep exploring, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next breakthrough.
That's a great note to end on. The future is what we make it, and with tools like reinforcement learning, the possibilities really are endless. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those recommendations coming.